Hello everyone, and welcome to the MarineAndReef.com budget tank build series. And today we're going to talk about fish food. Now, if you're following the series, you may have noticed that we talked about fish food just briefly when we picked out our fish. And that's because the number one rule of picking out fish and starting to feed them is feed the fish whatever they're eating. It is far more important that the fish eat something than that they eat the best, most healthy thing. Make sure that the fish are getting some nutrition, they have full bellies, they have some weight on them. That's going to mean your fish are a lot less stressed and give them a much better chance of survival. Now, that being said, I often like to slowly introduce new foods to the fish to get them eating what I want them to eat. And probably my main favorite food in the long run is going to be pellet food. And what I like about pellet food is pellet food very easily fits in automatic feeders, so it's easier for me to automate the feedings later. I also find that it's less messy than flake food. Every time I feed a fish a flake food, I put it in and it just explodes into a zillion pieces and makes a big mess, whereas the pellet food stays together. And while it's fun to feed other kinds of food, I just find that pellet food is super easy, super simple, it can be automated. It's going to be what I want the fish to eat. Now, not all fish are going to eat pellets, and not all fish are going to eat pellets right away. So we're going to go ahead and feed the fish some pellet food. Most of them have started to take to it, but some of them are still not quite eating it. The pellet food that I've been feeding, and it's the one I use at home, is the New Life Spectrum pellets. They have a variety of blends. I'm just using their general marine fish blend. This is a combination of both meat and veggie foods for omnivores, carnivores, and herbivores. It's just a general food. It comes in a few different pellet sizes. This is the small size, which is the right size for most people. Now, we got to touch to the budget aspect of food, and basically food just really isn't that expensive. The cost of a jar of food may be $20 or $30, but a jar like this could easily last us over 6 months worth. So it is not a big strain on the budget to feed a good fish food. And what I like in particular about this New Life Spectrum brand over some of the others is New Life Spectrum many years ago released some videos about their pellets and showing very finicky fish like Moorish idols and regal angels eating them. And these are fish I never thought would ever eat pellet food, and they were eating it. And for that reason, for a long time, I have fed this food, and I find that a lot of fish do eat it that may not otherwise eat pellets. So we're gonna go ahead and put just a little bit in, because we're gonna put a variety of fish foods in, and we don't wanna overfeed these guys. We're gonna take a small pinch. And one thing I like to do is rather than drop it on the top, where it could possibly get sucked into the filter, I put my fingers just below the surface and then kind of release it down. And I can see that the little damselfish are grabbing it. I just saw the little clownfish grab some. But there are some fish that seem not as interested. I know the chorus wrasse has been not as interested, and then the filefish also hasn't quite caught on to the pellet foods yet. So for that reason, we're going to offer a couple other things to the fish in this tank. The next type of food I was going to show you guys were these Sarah Veggie Pellets. If you have a tang like we do with the big chevron tang that's hiding right now, they are a primarily herbivorous fish. They will eat meat foods, but they eat a lot of veggies, and it's important to offer them some kind of veggie. Now, you can do that by using seaweed and clipping that onto the glass. You can do that by offering a veggie pellet. But one of my favorites are these Sarah marine veggie food, which come as tablets. And if I admit why I like these, they're just a lot of fun. So they're gonna come as a little disc. Get that disc and you just kind of push it onto the glass. And then the fish can kind of nibble on it throughout the day and kind of replicate that natural grazing behavior. And in fact, I see the tang thinking about it now. He may not like the pressure, but there he goes, nibbling at it. And it's gonna slowly dissolve. You can see the filefish is actually a little interested in it as well. And I find this fun. It's a good way to get the fish to the front of the tank where you can see them. And I just find it enjoyable. I don't know if this is the most cost-effective way to feed the fish. You can easily use seaweed, but I just really enjoy it, so it's what I use here. The last thing that we wanted to mention was frozen food. Now, we don't sell frozen food, so when I say it's good to feed some frozen food sometimes, you know I'm not just trying to earn some money from you. But there are a lot of fish that will not eat anything other than frozen food. fish we have here I've selected to be a little bit easier to adapt to dry foods, but fish like butterfly fish, a lot of gobies, it's very likely you'll never get them to eat anything other than frozen food. I would still keep offering them dry food because it'll make your life easier if you don't have to do with frozen, but you want to feed the fish what they're eating. So I've got a little bit of frozen food here. This is frozen brine shrimp. Now, when you buy a frozen food, it's most often going to come as little cubes. You can get that cube and put it in a measuring cup. These are the same measuring cups we bundle with a lot of our additives. They're just very useful to have around. And I just put it in the measuring cup with a little bit of tank water and waited till it thawed out. This is a good point where you could add a food additive, something like a Celcon or a Vitachem to enrich the food. But to keep things basic, this is just the dissolved food and some water right now. And I'm just gonna pour it right on in. And then you can let the fish eat it. You can see that I think the smaller fish are taking to it much more. That tang really likes that algae. Now, to answer a couple more questions, how often should you feed your fish and how much should you feed your fish? We're going to recommend for most common fish you feed once a day. There are some fish that will require more frequent feedings. If you get those fish, just make sure to ask wherever you're purchasing them from what's appropriate for them. But generally once a day is going to be pretty common. And how much should only be whatever the fish eat. If you ever notice the fish aren't eating all the food and some of it's sitting on the bottom and rotting, that's not doing anybody any good, so you should feed less than that. In general, it's better to feed less food more often rather than more food less often. So if you're worried your fish aren't getting enough food, rather than feed them more, you may want to feed them twice a day, say before work and at the end. Thank you for joining us for another episode of the Budget Tank Build Series. If you like today's episode and you want to see more, then be subscribed. Check out MarineAndReef.com. We got all kinds of articles there about fish food, equipment, and all kinds of other gear. And give us a like and thumbs up. We appreciate it.